Hey y'all. If you follow my channel closely, you might have heard of the Chinese doll manufacturer Yiyang DEFA and their DEFA LUCY line of fashion dolls. Though they are mostly known for cheap Barbie doll knockoffs, DEFA introduced a more high-quality collector line a few months back with their Icon collection of dolls. The auburn-haired model number 1 and blonde model number 1.5 were the first two releases in this line, and just a few days ago they unveiled the Series 1 Icon model number 2. At first glance I was actually fairly excited to see them release a collector doll with a different skin tone to the previous two releases, but the more I looked at the design of this new doll, the more uncomfortable it started to make me feel, and I want to deep dive into why I think this release is not only egregious, but the doll itself is actually 100% offensive. So stay tuned. It was almost exactly a year ago when I first started to talk about DEFA LUCY and their dolls, and my coverage on them more or less got the ball rolling for DEFA to become as successful as they are today, and for collectors to start taking an interest in their dolls. So I feel like, as I've sort of opened Pandora's box, it's also my obligation to speak out on them, and I feel like there's something wrong. There's truly something wrong here. Now, a big disclaimer beforehand, I'm gonna be talking about the topic of racism as well as blackfacing and touch upon its history, which can be triggering and painful to hear, so viewers' discretion is advised. I also want this to be a place for my audience to voice their opinion on this whole thing in the comments down below. Of course, feel free to do so, but I also urge everyone to be mindful and respectful when they write a comment. Okay? Alright, now we got that out of the way. Let's get into it. So there are a few things that immediately caught me off guard when I saw the pictures of this doll online. The thing that pulled focus the most is of course the stark red color of the long puffer jacket the doll is wearing. I'm not sure exactly why they decided to go for that color story here, but when I saw the red coat it reminded me of mammy dolls in ceramic jars. In the 1800s, the mammy was the highest female plantation servant. She was trusted to cook and serve meals to the white plantation owner and his family and take care of the plantation owner's children. Her work uniform consisted of a long, solid color plain dress. The mammy doll's outfits were usually a solid red dress or a red and white gingham check dress with a long white pinafore-style apron. Mammy jars and mammy dolls are harmful and were meant to mock black people. These are racist, dehumanizing objects created as propaganda tools in the late 19th and early 20th centuries to perpetuate deep-rooted, ugly stereotypes about black people. That's why I'm giving the new DEFA LUCY doll the side-eye when I see that she's wearing this long puffer jacket in this solid red color, because it really truly reminds me of those dolls. The next thing that immediately struck me was the doll's face and how it not only uses the exact same sculpture and features of the white Caucasian dolls we got beforehand, but also how they decided to not even change the color of the doll's eyes and decided upon using the same blue hue that the white dolls have. While I'm not a fan of assigning facial features to certain ethnicities and think it's misguided to call for a white doll to have a different set of facial structure to that of a Hispanic, Asian or black doll, that's giving eugenics, a tool used by the far right to further the idea of white supremacy. Eugenics is a set of beliefs and practices based on human phenotypes promoting that of those considered superior. I don't think that an Asian doll should have slanted eyes or a black doll should have a bigger nose and lips, and white dolls to have thin lips and no hips and a flat ass. What I think is particularly wrong here though is how our new Icon model number 2 has the same eye color as the previous models, paired with the red color lipstick she's sporting and the short hairdo. Just makes it look like the previous model painted herself black and slapped a wig on, which is just deeply unsettling to think about. It brings to mind minstrel shows of the 1800s and the practice of blackfacing, whereby white actors used burnt cork or grease paint to paint themselves black and paint on exaggerated facial features. David Leonard, a professor of comparative ethnic studies and American studies at Washington State University, observes that blackfacing was meant to authenticate their whiteness. It was the same as saying we can become the other and mock the other and assert our superiority by dehumanizing the other. Before DEFA unveiled the doll, they had already teased her with a different picture, and when I first saw that picture I was surprised to see texture on the doll's face. The doll's face made of vinyl is usually a very flat surface, so when I saw the picture I kind of wondered whether they had painted over the doll's face with acrylic paint or spray painted it black. What also struck me was the doll's hairstyle. While I do like that they used a natural hairstyle on the doll, to me, and this is solely my opinion, it doesn't feel like it's a celebration of natural hairstyles in the way that, for example, the Naturalistas line of dolls put out by Purpose Toys is a celebration of the wide array of beautiful black natural and protective hairstyles that exist out there. To me, it looks very wiggy and not like a beautiful crown growing from the doll's scalp. It just looked like it was plopped onto the head of the doll to maybe again further this idea that DEFA had to make the doll look a certain way. Another thing that I've noticed was the decision to give the doll a pair of white pearl earrings and a silver metal encasing that are arranged in a very particular looking cluster. This cluster reminded me personally of a cotton plant. Yes, like there are a trillion earring designs out there. Why on earth did they have to opt for a pair of earrings consisting of 3 small white pearls arranged in such a cluster? It truly is mind-boggling to see them evoke a cotton plant, reminding us of the centuries of slavery and black labor exploitation colonizers engaged in. All of these things that I've mentioned feel like deliberate design choices that the design team at DEFA could have easily circumvented by just switching the color story on the puffer jacket, giving the doll a different eye color and hairstyle, as well as switching up the earring design, but as they choose not to do so, it feels like their aim was to offend and the goal was to evoke exactly the type of caricature-esque black stereotype dolls from history's past that this doll kind of looks similar to. Now, a year back, a similar thing happened when JHD Dolls, the company behind the Mizzy line of high-quality collectible fashion dolls, released Millennium Midnight Orchid Yaya, a doll with features that made certain people say that the doll is venturing into blackface territory. I do actually own Midnight Orchid Yaya and think she's really gorgeous, but I do see how design choices made here weren't the most ideal, and I think that it's generally a problem with the Chinese doll manufacturers who do not have a single black creative in their design team when they start to think about designing dolls that aren't predominantly light-skinned. And I already know that a lot of people will say that I'm doing too much, I'm seeing things that aren't there, that it is wrong of me to assume this was DEFA's choice to do so, and how I'm making people feel bad or shame people for wanting to own this doll. But what I've learned from attending empowerment workshops for adults like me, who have experienced racism firsthand throughout all of their life, it does not matter what the intention is or is not. It does not matter what was said or done. All that matters is how I feel about it and whether something offends me, therefore I think something is racist. What is wrong though is to stay quiet, to keep it hush-hush, and to turn a blind eye when something like this happens. So I feel like it's important to have this discussion and for companies to do better in the future. That's all there is to it. So I hope you were able to somewhat enjoy this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you thought this video was trash, leave a dislike. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And I might be seeing you in my next video. Bye for now.